Hello there and welcome to Il Salotto Sessions. I am Sara Seravalli, an Italian event organizer with a profound enthusiasm for design and architecture, bringing over 15 years of experience from my work across showrooms in Milan, Paris and London. Fueled by a passion for connecting people in the design world, I founded Design Pop-Up in 2014, a specification-focused event that has since traveled throughout the UK and Ireland. Today, I'm expanding my vision with Il Salotto, a vibrant space, both physical and virtual, dedicated to inspiring meaningful conversations and fostering connections within the design community. I hope you will enjoy my chats.
Right. Tim, thank you very much for finding the time to sit down with me today. I was on a mission to come and get you in Leeds.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting anywhere the official channel, so that was my mission impossible, coming down and catch you at UK Reef.
Impressive dedication.
Impressive dedication. You were incredibly gracious about being ambushed at one of the events you were organising and chairing, so thank you very much.
That's very nice. Very lovely to meet you. Very flattering for the effort you put into getting along to have a chat. So, yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. Right, listen, for the few people out there that don't know who you are, I'm going to talk through about what I know about you, and then let me know if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then we can start the conversation like that, because obviously your history is very much relevant to what you're doing today.
Yes.
So you grew up in Salford. Your parents were social workers.
Yeah.
They were pioneers in their own field because they started fostering vulnerable adults with learning difficulties.
That's right, yeah.
And then that, even when things got tough, because your dad lost his job, they would still continue and help people and create this opportunity to support the community.
Yeah.
So that very much stayed with you.
Yes.
Then you went to uni, got a law degree, and then started as a small-scale developer until you met your business partner, Adam, and then created Capital Centric.
That's right, yeah. Perfect. Spot on.
Right. So it's very clear to me why the social impact is so important for the buildings you create.
Yeah.
But why is the love for architecture, where's that coming from?
I suppose it might be partly kind of growing up in and around Manchester. So Salford is the city just next to Manchester, but I spent a lot of my time in and around Manchester. And it has got some really cool buildings from different eras and decades. Tall buildings and small, even, almost medieval buildings as well. And so there's a really broad spectrum of architecture. And I think that as part of doing a good job and making a place better, architecture is an essential part of it. It's art. If you don't like art, you can ignore it and avoid it. But architecture is unavoidable art. You're going to see it every day, and people witness it all the time. And so, if you can make that an uplifting experience for people to see, and what I like is if you can make architecture and the art that it is democratically accessible, so that everybody can interact with it and enjoy it, then I think that's a really good thing for society as well. So I think it's probably also stems from my interest in society and make it a more equal and better place for everybody. And so I think it's a byproduct of that, really. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, I'm Italian, so the aesthetics, the love for aesthetics is like ingrained in my DNA somehow. And then when I moved to the UK, that's when I learned that good architecture and good design can actually make our lives better, our physical health, mental health, and just the community, the support community. So this is why for me it's what you're doing is phenomenal, because I've been a judge for one of the main property awards in Scotland for a few years. Yeah. So I've been going around the country to see these developments, and very rarely I can see the two things. I mean, either you go affordable housing, and the council is putting a lot of effort in what they're doing to create a community, to give good homes. Obviously, for them, is a financial thing because their stock needs to last longer, and therefore they're putting more effort in building good homes. Yeah. Or you go to the private side of things, and if you're lucky, the new office developments, they look at BREEAM certification, they look at sustainability, but very rarely, if never, social impact.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're ahead of the curve on that. There's increased interest in social impact, and I think it's still embryonic. A lot of people don't fully understand all of the social impact element of it. So you're right, you can measure low carbon and green initiatives. Measuring social impact is new. What are the outcomes and the outputs generated from the projects that we do, for example, and what are the benefits to society that creates? And so, because it's early and new, a couple of things are happening. I think we've got. I feel as though we are very much. It's very much our principles and passion are ingrained into the projects, and so that interest in social impact is in everything that we do. And there are other organisations like us that do that. And then you've got developers that will refer to themselves as being a social impact developer just because you think that's what they should say, but they don't really know what that means. And there are lots like that at the moment. And
it's like saying I'm a sustainability expert in reality. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't mind that as long as, I think that's going to happen as long as eventually they do actually understand what it means and they do actually do it with, they do it from the right place and they do it properly and thoroughly. So they're putting a badge on the side at the moment and saying this is what we do. I don't mind as long as they do get there eventually. But I think because we've done it from the very start, that takes a long time to understand and to ingrain it into all of your colleagues and into all of your wider consultant team and into your partners and your funding partners and all the way down to the public sector and the landowners and everybody else needs to be on board with it. Because if they're not, it doesn't really work. You can't really make the impact that you want to make. So it's still new, and that also means that all levels of the development process aren't fully there on it yet. So I could say to a landowner, well, we'll pay you £1 million for that land, but but there's going to be a very, very socially impactful project that happens here. The next developer can say, I'll pay you £1.1 million, but there is no social impact. And that landowner might say, I'll just take the bigger figure, to be honest. And I get that. It makes sense. But I think over time, eventually, if that landowner has other land in the area, they'll realise that actually, financially, it's better for them to take a bit less on that land, because in the future, if it's a much better project and a much better development and society benefits from that they will benefit financially because that landowner's land, the other land that they own, will be worth more. So there's a bit of a process to go through and now the public sector get that better. So the councils understand that. And a lot of what we do is in partnership with councils and local authorities. So that's why I suppose with us, there's an understanding there from the team. But it's the same from the financial side of it. So when we are working with our funding partners, which are investment funds and pension funds, to fund our projects, they want to do social value. But at the minute, it's not entirely about what they're there for. They're a financial institution, they're a financial instrument. So yes, they want to do social value because they've heard about it and they've heard it's important.
Trendy.
Exactly. But at the minute, it's the only person that deals with it is Claire down the road in an office on her own, and the rest of the team are dealing with just making money. And there's got somebody down the road that just do a little bit of social impact. So that's changing, though. I think over time, pension funds and large financial institutions are increasing their social impact kind of input or output, but it's slow and it's still quite new, and so but it's definitely the direction of travel, and it goes up and down a little bit as well. So you notice things like social impact lose a bit of their excitement or interest when you've got the Trump government saying, "Oh, we don't care about diversity anymore," for example, and businesses and organisations feel a bit more empowered to say, "Oh yeah, we can ignore that for a while." But it always comes back, and it's the same in fairness with green and low carbon things, that whilst it's difficult or the economy's in recession, green can take a back seat, and I get that, because for a while it's like we can't do everything and do it all green, but it does come back, and when it comes back stronger, because you can't hold the tide back forever. So, for example, you can kick the can down the road on battery-powered electric cars, or you can kick the can down the road on zero carbon housing. You can kick it back, but eventually we're going to have to do it. So it does come back. It comes back in a much bigger in more immediate way, because you've got less time to implement it. And that's the same for social impact, that it ebbs and flows, but when it does come back into the psyche of everybody, it comes back even stronger, because we realise, actually, if we don't get that right, we've just got more problems to deal with down the road. So that's the good thing about it. And we just chart that course of constantly just focusing and using that as our guiding light to make sure that everything that we do is with social impact in mind, and green, you know, and exemplary architecture, and preserving history and conserving buildings. And the good thing about it is I found it's a really kind of resilient business model, and it's a really, it's because it's alternative, an alternative approach to property development and investment. It means that we're one of very few people actually doing it, which means we've got less competition, which means that we do well as a result. So I think that's why we've grown so much. I think we've doubled in size every couple of years. And I think it's because we kind of ignore everybody else and do what we think is right, and it's worked out well for us.
Right, let's talk about money then, right?
Yeah.
You say on your website, not all developers drive Bentleys and wear Rolex. So what are you driving? A Corsa?
Today I'm an electric smart car.
Oh, that is very cool.
Do you know the little city car?
In Milan, we all had that because there was no space, so we were all driving a smart car.
Yeah. And I'm not an eco warrior, by the way. I like cars a lot, actually. And I like old things and that I restore, refurbish. So I've got a couple of cars from the 80s that I like and that I drive, and they're cool retro cars, not fancy. You know, they're not flash makes, but an old Renault. I've got an old Audi because for me it reminds me of being a kid, and I like to have them immaculate. So they've all been fully restored. Like I restore like this headquarters that we're in, out this warehouse. I've restored that, and so it's the same approach. I want it to operate entirely like it's a brand new thing, but it's an old thing. But I want it to be completely functional in every single way that it needs to be, like a modern thing. And it's the same with my cars. But yeah, I drive an electric smart car, but that's no good for going all the way because we have projects down on the south coast and up in the northeast. So for that, I have a 100,000-mile, 12-year-old. It's a Mercedes. But it's 100,000 miles, 12 years old, because it does the job, and I don't really care what people think of me or what I drive. I don't mind that.
No, but what I want to say. Yes, the money is not your focus, but still, it's still profitable business. You said you've been doubling in size every 2 years. So the message I'm trying to get across here to the people up in Scotland to up their game and say you can still do things properly and make money.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I actually think it's more profitable in the long run. It's not rapid, it's not instant, but if you make it, you know, all of our commitments and developments and investments that we make are long-term thinking. Everything's 10 to 15 years thinking. And for a while it was hard because it meant that, you know, financially we were constrained a lot. But eventually you get the benefit of that snowball effect. And because we're making the long-term decisions, it's meant that we've been much more financially stable. And actually, in the round, it's been more profitable as a result. Because making a profit for us is really important. We've got to make a profit so that we can do it again and do more and grow. And you can. The choice is often, do you take that money out or do you reinvest it? And we enjoy reinvesting it and doing more of it. And I think that's a good thing. You know, I think it helps to show our commitment to places. But it helps to keep not only me and my business partner Adam grounded, and our families grounded as well, but also our colleagues as well. We all are able to be kind of sensible and still have a connection to the places that we are investing in developing. Because if we have some kind of completely bizarre abstract lifestyle that have no relevance to the people who live in the towns and cities that we're regenerating, I think that'd be a bad idea. So yeah, I think it's good to kind of to continue to reinvest in the people here and the places that we're involved in.
So I was in Edinburgh yesterday for an event. It was a panel discussion about build to rent, ADP architects, and in the panel there was Andy Russell from Drum Properties. So Andy was saying, your name came up. Well, I brought your name up because Andy was saying Adam, not Andy. Adam Russell was saying that not a long time ago, up to maybe 5-6 years ago, obviously build to rent is viable in Scotland only in Glasgow and Edinburgh, the two main cities. So he said, up to maybe 5-6 years ago, there was a lot of land in the city center you could redevelop. As a matter of fact, they just finished a huge 350 apartments built to rent just next to my showroom.
Yeah.
In Candlerick, so smack on the beautiful part of Glasgow.
Yeah.
So, but now he said, now there is a lack of the opportunities. So I said, sorry, can you not be a bit more creative with the sites you choose, like Tim is doing down in Manchester? And his reply was, and bear in mind, I'm simplifying the conversation here, but his reply was, well, yes, the Capital Centric model is phenomenal. Hats off to them. However, it's not that easy to find mayors like Andy Burnham that support you and work with you to help you achieve with that. So what do we need to do? Do we need to clone Andy Burnham, or is there a way we can get other mayors involved?
I mean, it's fair to say we started in Liverpool, actually. So many of our projects were in Liverpool because property was cheaper there. So we started with it there, and they've got their own mayor, Steve Rotherham. And then we started to apply that more to Manchester, and we've grown in Manchester. But it is easier to make things work in Manchester because property values are higher. I mean, you still have to buy the land and building at the right price. And that's the biggest challenge now in Manchester, that everybody's paying what I would say is too much for land and buildings and hoping that the value of it will go up, that they can then afford to redevelop it because the end value of the project would go up. But most of in fact, almost all of our time and effort is spent now not in Manchester. We're in Wolverhampton, and we're in Gateshead, and we're in Sunderland or Middlesbrough, or throughout the UK. Really, we are no longer really just in the northwest either. Stoke-on-Trent, other places in the Midlands and the south. We're starting to move into the south, and we're in left behind and forgotten towns and cities where the end value of a development is definitely less than Glasgow. So that's hard to make that work. But then again, there are still political leaders in those places that want to see regeneration, investment, and so they will support that however they can. And so I agree, if it was all Manchester, I'd say, well, I'd dismiss that and say, well, yeah, I get it, Manchester's easy, but almost everything we're doing now is not in those places. We have 8 live construction sites, and only a couple of them are in Manchester, Greater Manchester, So one of them is in Wigan, and so there's only one in the city centre. But the benefit of that is that the stuff in Manchester can help us to do stuff in other places because this can be more profitable, whereas somewhere like Wolverhampton is not very profitable. Gateshead is not very profitable, but hopefully we're rolling the pitch there and we're changing those places so that when we've finished, we'll be able to, the people that come after us will be able to make a profit because we'll have made the right place and we'll have created a setting and demonstrated that actually things can work there. So that's kind of our job, is to pioneer in new places and set a new high watermark in terms of quality and architecture and placemaking.
So one of the other things I get frustrated a lot when I'm doing site visits for the property board is that I end up in these huge developments that is just private developers and they're building, 500 houses, right? Yeah. But it's just houses.
Yeah.
There is no shop, there's no GP, there's no pub, there is no off license, there's just houses. And I was like, this is so, surely we can add more of these people. When you regenerate, with your buildings, you regenerate the area, you create spaces for the community to come together, which is, especially after COVID, we are all aware of how much we need the community or we can be isolated.
Yeah.
So do you think as a society or government, local and central government, can we not ask more of these private developers and say, I need 100 houses, but I also need a little garden for the kids to play and a little cafe for the moms to meet and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that happens a lot across the UK. And a good example is where Homes England have got a great new town that they are bringing forwards in Cambridgeshire called Northstowe. And it's a fantastic location and property values are quite high there. And house builders have acquired land and built houses, but almost nothing else has been built there. So Homes England and others are collaborating there to bring the new town to the place, which is all the things that you expect to see in a town centre, from the village stores to the bowling green to the pubs and the cafe bars and the co-working spaces and everything else, because that creates a community, that creates your customer. We want to sell to that customer. We want people to be able to rent off us or buy off us. And so the first thing we think about is, how do we create our customer? So how do we create the demand? And that's what we've been doing for so long now, is where there's no perceived demand in a place, and people think, well, there is no demand for that product. We say, well, we'll make it. We'll make the demand. And that's the difference between regeneration and property development that people don't get. So property development is serving a demand that already exists. There's already demand for those apartments. Build them, they get rented. Regeneration is about creating demand. And that's using all sorts of things. So we have our own cafe bars and restaurant spaces that we'll operate ourselves to create the demand. And we use social media a lot to create interest and demand in the place by hosting events and activities around art, music, dance, all sorts of, and craft events, all sorts of events, activities to bring people to a place, to create a market, to create an interest and create demand. And also, changing the perception of a place as well is really important. So we do that with national media, TV shows or, magazine articles, that sort of thing, to get people thinking differently about a place. And all of a sudden you can find that there's demand somewhere that didn't exist. And then you can serve that demand with, well, here's some homes that you can live in and you can be part of this new place that's emerging. And so, a big part of it has got to be the other amenity that people need. And it's not that expensive. And the worst version is when people build a block of flats and then they put a ground floor commercial unit and it's just empty and it just looks awful. But weirdly, we see it's worth spending and investing some money on the ground floor of somewhere, or in a community building on a site that's suburban perhaps. It's worth investing and losing some money on that, but you'll get it all back and more on top in the rest of the development. So, we don't mind fitting out a restaurant or creating a cafe bar or creating a workspace. And we know that the cost is greater than the value, but in terms of that bit, but the value that you add to everything else is massive. And we never understood why people don't do it that way. And then the other thing we do is like greenery and trees and planting, and it doesn't cost a lot of money but the value it creates is really high. It can change people's perception of a place. You can change their emotion and you can change how they think about a place. And it's really powerful, that. And so we spend a lot of time and money at the start on the green stuff. So we're building some buildings, but let's build a landscape or let's make it all beautiful. And that means that people go, I really would like to live here. I really would like to work here. It's beautiful, isn't it? And we go, yeah. And I say nature's done the heavy lifting for us. It's grown while we've been building a building. Nature's grown, makes it look verdant and beautiful. And
normally they do the landscape at the end. So you get into a new development and the trees are like this big.
Because at the end of every job, ours the same. You've run out of budget. You've run out of money. So we go, before we run out of money, let's do the bit that we need to do right at the start. So we do that first. And so, those little things, I'm surprised that more developers don't see the benefit of that.
I'm surprised that most developers build shit houses, to be fair.
I don't get that.
As again, with all the developers I've seen, the bedrooms are tiny, the ceilings are low. I've seen what you build nice houses, the rooms are spacious. It's a place where you want to be. Yeah. It's not just about energy efficiency. It's not just about, you need to make sure that the rooms are directed to the sunlight. And, I've seen this house that there was like 4 bedrooms with 3 en-suites. But then you go downstairs and there is no space for the family to come together. Yeah,
it happens a lot, doesn't it? But people are prepared to pay a premium for really nice space, really nice architecture, really nice greenery. People will pay a premium for it. So it does work. It does make sense to do it. But often, people think we have to make it as small as
more units as possible.
What we found as well, if we were looking, we started by converting warehouses and mills and so on a lot. That is now only about 20% of what we do. A lot of it is new build. But when we started to do new build, we said we need to replicate the height and the space that you get in a warehouse or a mill into the new build, because a lot of our projects are for rent. And we noticed that people would hang around a lot longer in in a nice, beautifully converted warehouse, or if it had space for their things and for them to move around. And so we often, well, all of our new build homes are bigger than the competitors or the average in that area, because we know people will stick around, but they'll pay extra. So if it's 20% bigger, people will typically pay 20% more. But they'll stay around for longer, which means that it's more efficient for our business. So but you've got to take a longer term view.
You're very passionate about doing your bit to solve the housing crisis that we got in the UK. And you spend a lot of time talking to the Chancellor and the central government. Are you getting anywhere? Are they listening?
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah, they do listen about not just that, but everything. I think they do listen, and they've got lots of people talking to them about lots of things. So it's challenging to be heard when they've got lots of other things coming at them. But yeah, they've announced some. Angela Rayner's team have announced some great initiatives around homelessness and rough sleeping, and that's fantastic. I've been fortunate to have a few conversations with Angela, and Rachel Reeves as well has visited our projects as well, and so I love that. The access that we get to central government is brilliant, to be able to then, and again, that's probably one of the benefits of being a business that says that we care not just about ourselves but about other people, because then that's what the government are there to do, to look after other people. And so they're interested to hear from businesses like us that can demonstrate that it isn't just a brand or logo. It's got real meaning behind it. And so, yeah, they want to, because they realise as well that if you invest in people and you invest in making sure that, because homelessness, for example, is a very expensive problem for the government in terms of it costs the health service and the police and all of the other agencies involved in that a lot of money to care for somebody who has been sleeping rough. But if you can prevent them sleeping rough and prevent them from becoming homeless, you save a lot of money. So it's cheaper to look after people, but you've got to invest at the start. And so that they get that. And so they're keen to explore ideas and initiatives that make it as, that if people do become homeless, that it's a very brief, short period and it doesn't get repeated and doesn't become ingrained. And so, yeah, they're listening. And in fairness, I think it's a big challenge the previous governments have struggled with. But I think very much Andy Burnham has led the way, I think, a lot in Greater Manchester, demonstrating how you can do things around homelessness better to make sure that we can get people off the streets much more quickly and reduce rough sleeping in the city centre significantly. So, and the government are rolling out some of those things that have been piloted in Greater Manchester.
Do you think I can, if I persuaded you to find time with me, do you think I can persuade him to come over, change the scene and come up to Glasgow or something?
Get Andy up to Glasgow, yeah.
Or down to London, 10 Downing Street would be a good place.
Oh, yeah, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? He's very approachable, Andy. Is the guy that you see on the screen, that you hear. He's very much like that as a politician. He's very approachable and very open-minded and very down to earth. And they've got some great mayors. The other guy that I've started to spend a bit of time with is is Ben Houchin for the Conservative mayor for the North East. Brilliant, gets it, passionate about his local area. So it's about the place first. The party politics is second, and I love that when people, Andy was very very keen to praise some of the initiatives that Michael Gove was doing when Conservatives were in government, and it's really I'd really like to see that
to keep the good. Change the bad.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't matter about the politics, about the place. And obviously, because we work with different politicians across all different places, for me, it's really important to not take a view on the politics, but just to take a view on the person. And I've got to say that the mayors that I've met and spent a bit of time with, have been fantastic. Claire Ward, Kim McGuinness, it's been Tracy Brabin, Oliver Coppard. All of them, they're brilliant. They're dead nice people. So not met all of them. I've not met the last sort of 2 or 3 that have recently started. But the ones I've met so far, what a great bunch of people who are really passionate and focused.
You must have very good vibes. You're attracting only the good energy from the other people around you. You are part of the panel tonight with my friends at Solus. And it's about empowerment of women in the building industry. And you are the only male.
The token bloke on the panel.
What are you going to say? We're surrounded by women.
I said as well, do you really need me on this panel? I wasn't sure if I should be on the panel at all. Are you going to be there? Are you going to?
No, unfortunately, I need to go home.
Yeah.
For that.
Okay. Shame you missed it. But I mean, brilliant, inspirational people on that panel. And then there's me. So I feel very intimidated and nervous, to be honest. I don't really know what I can add. Other than I think perhaps I'm there because I started a non-profit called Regeneration Brainery, which has grown a lot. It's grown across the UK and works with hundreds, if not thousands, of young people now, and that's there to get women and people from diverse backgrounds, and and guys as well, but people from diverse backgrounds who can often be from a disadvantaged background into the built environment sector, so into project management and quantity surveying and cost consulting.
Because there's a shortage of skills and people.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not construction, because there are great initiatives around construction, but it's everything else. And also, the sector's actually quite well paid. It's, you can get, you look in the car park of any built environment consultancy or whatever it might be, civil engineering, project management, architecture, whatever. There are nice cars in that car.
Those maps.
Nice cars. And so I think, it's well paid. It's well paid. And so if you can take people, if you're in that former council house on that big estate that is, crumbling a little bit and it needs reinvestment, and you're looking out across the city that's growing high, and or the centre of a place is getting lots of investment, and you don't know how you can access that investment, and how you can be a part of that story, part of that growth, and part of that wealth creation, then that's no good. So we want to connect those young kids looking out their bedroom window and say, yeah, you can be a part of this and you can benefit from that. And that's what the programme does.
So going back to what you said earlier on, I know some of my clients either work with you or would love to work with you, but you've got very strict criteria who the suppliers you're going to work with. You mentioned it earlier on that if we share the old values and the old goals, the old aims, then we can really make things happen faster.
Yeah.
So what's the criteria?
Good question, man. I don't know off the top of my head what the criteria is the honest answer. But a few things. We used to have a bit of a rule that was never work with an organisation that's a lot bigger than you are.
Okay. No Airbnb.
Yeah, because when it comes to picking a consultancy team, we always had the view for a long time, which I think still has some relevance, that if we're a small organisation, small business, and you have a huge business, it's very hard for us to kind of get them to see the world our way, because it's just so big.
Influence them, yeah.
However, and that was true for a long time, and so we only wanted to work with smaller organisations and small supports, like a 3-man band architecture practice, a small, upstart new organisation. However, as we've got bigger and our voice has got bigger and our influence has got bigger, then it's allowed us to work with bigger organisations and say to them, we need you to do it this way, and this is how we think it's done. And in the past, those big companies would say, no, you're little 2-person Capital Centric. No, but now they go, oh, that's good. That's interesting. Okay, we'll change how we do things. And so now we work with bigger organisations. They've got to be committed to the things that they're passionate about, low energy, architecture, social impact. But you can sense that when you look at how they're structured. How they speak, who's involved, what initiatives they're involved in. And so we kind of do a little bit of working it out. And we're quite a loyal bunch. So we use the same consultants again and again. But of course, as we've grown, we've had to bring new people into the tent. And so we've continued to do that over time. And we try and make sure that those people that we bring into that tent are kind of have our same point of view. Not just not the overall company, but often the individuals that we're working with.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of difference, the person. I'm not, obviously, Salot has only been open for 3 months. So I'm still in the process of finding the right partners to work with.
Yeah.
But I always say, it's not just about the product, it's not just about the brand and the story you're saying, it's also about the person. If I don't like, you're coming to my lounge, if I don't like you, I'm not going to work with you. But it's not for because I'm arrogant or full of myself. It's because when we have the same values, then we can make things happen properly. And the magic happens if we all work with the same goal in mind. Yeah,
definitely. I remember one of the first projects I worked on that was big, when there was just 2 of us, just me and Adam. There's a guy, we managed to get involved in a big project. And that guy, the project manager on that project, there's somebody who worked on the project beforehand, and that project had failed under a previous developer, and we managed to get hold of it. And this individual, who's the project manager on that project, we persuaded him to come and be a consultant to us. And we just started, so it's like, we can't pay you a lot of money, but we need you to be a consultant to us. And he said, I will, on one condition: you've got to make me laugh. Because he said, I don't want to work with clients who don't make me laugh. It's got to be fun. And I thought it was a great ethos that this guy had. And he still works with us now and does lots of our projects. He's a one-man band. And he said, life's too short to it, people that can't make you smile and can't make you laugh. And so I saw him just last night, actually, at an architecture talk in Manchester. And that's really nice that all this time later, which is, over 15 years plus later, he's still working on our projects. He's still a one-man band. Our projects have got much bigger, but we still make him laugh, and he makes us laugh, and that's a great way to that's a great way to go to work.
Yeah, well, thank you. I knew it was worthwhile coming all the way to Leeds to catch you. Thank you very much for that. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, me too.
Thank you very much for listening to Il Salotto Sessions. If you enjoyed the chat, please make sure you share with your friends and follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. For more information on our events, please visit ilsalotto.design and designpopup.com. You can also find us on Instagram _designpopup and Il Salotto Glasgow, as well as LinkedIn. Should you have any feedback, questions or suggestions, please do get in touch at hello@ilsalotto.design. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.